All right, welcome in everybody to the Important Nonsense Podcast. Steve Bonham, Neil Smith, Mike Manning. Here we are. 32 teams in 32 days, the recap show. What has changed? Are we excited to go back over this, guys? It's so much fun the first time through, right?
I am, because it means football season's finally starting. Finally
the
done.
finish line. Yeah.
Yeah, we're finally getting to the part that's actually fun. We're getting to the actual meat and potatoes. We've had our salad. We've had our epicac when you're talking about the some of those teams, and now we're going to actually do real football stuff. No more preseason. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, real fantasy, technically fake football, but real versions of it.
Yes, real fake football. That's what we're here for. Real fake football. All right, so we're just going to go back through the list here, essentially, just what's changed on these teams. If you're out there watching and you've got any questions, again, just throw them in the comments section out there. Mike, you're in charge of the comments, so feel free to interrupt me at any point in time. But Arizona, Daryl Williams, who we talked about as basically being the backup, not a lock to make the roster. He has had a rough offseason. Again, they're still saying it's Eno Benjamin. I'm still really skeptical about that. But maybe that's just me being burned one too many times. I don't know.
Yeah, at that point, then it becomes then who?
Right.
Kenyan Drake. We go full.
Going to come back.
Mm-hmm. We're going to go all the way. We're going to go all the way around.
Uh-huh.
I can't say that'd be a terrible idea.
Right.
I'm only half joking.
Right.
I mean,
there's a lot of hype about Keontae Ingram too, but yeah, it is what it is. I'd rather trust Eno Benjamin again, but that's just me.
I don't want any of it.
No, me neither. But
I think what do you always say, Steve? Mr. Not on the roster.
Yeah,
is the real backup. Kenyan Drake, jokes aside, it's probably that.
Well, so, and again, Arizona's one of those teams too, where they're pushing to not only make the playoffs but make a run. And
they have
if something were to happen to James Conner, are you really going to try to win the Super Bowl with the Eno Benjamin? No, they're going to do.
Or just completely just disintegrate the run game and just forget about it.
Right.
Just like Kyler Murray do everything.
Right.
Like, hey, gave you this big contract. Now, literally, the entire team is on your shoulders.
Good luck.
Have fun.
That's not going to happen. Rondale Moore rested with the starters. He's in line for the Christian Kirk role. He's getting the hype that I hoped he would get before the Hollywood Brown trade. But even still, he's buried in ADP and on rankings. Are we undervaluing Rondale Moore?
I mean, kinda. Like,
sorta.
He's going. So you're going to sit there. You're guaranteed 6 weeks of production of somewhat sort. Like, his role has to change from last year. Just has to. There's no way that he's going to lead the league among wide receivers or tight ends in receptions behind the line of scrimmage or targets behind the line of scrimmage. Like, this guy was. I get what he did in college was electric. He would take like a slant route and just break 3 tackles and go the distance. That is his game. His MO is just making plays after the catch and being great with the ball in his hands. But at points, you still want to see he still should go down the field.
Yeah.
He shouldn't stay at the line of scrimmage. He should be able to, last year, one of his only touchdown, I think it was a broken play that he just got open and near the sideline, like 15 yards downfield, caught a ball and then just ran the rest.
Yep.
So what will happen whenever DeAndre Hopkins comes back is going to be the question. Obviously, he goes down the pecking order. It's just going to be, does he go down and stay below Zach Ertz? So he's 4th on the list? Or does he stay above Zach Ertz and becomes the number 3 option in the offense? Which, an offense like theirs in Arizona, it's a good offense. It's got a good quarterback. They run a lot of plays. So, yeah, there's plenty of teams that you want the 3rd option in. There's not too many teams you want the 4th option in.
Yeah. He's just one of those names to know when you're going through your drafts this weekend or next weekend. He's going in the 14th round right now in ADP. So,
and that's why I'm saying,
like, does that hurt?
Right.
Yeah, I don't view it as like an undervalued type of thing just because of all the uncertainty. We just don't know exactly what his role is going to be, so it makes it difficult to trust. which makes it hard to want to invest in him beyond last skill position player on your roster because you don't want to end up upside down on it. Given where he's going right now, you can cut him if it doesn't work out, and it makes absolutely no difference. So it makes me not want to get more invested than that. I think that's about the appropriate level of value. And yes, Mike, I agree. Early returns, probably good. He might be an interesting one to actually pick up at the last skill position player of your draft. Get about 4 to 5 weeks into it and see if you can flip it to somebody else, because if his recent production will be good, you might be able to staple his contract to something else and get a deal done for yourself to get something a little more attractive.
He's interesting in terms of next season, certainly for me.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to look ahead at all, because of the contract situation with Hopkins and Marquise Brown, with the Cardinals cap situation as it is now, they're both not coming back.
Right.
Guaranteed. Yep. Because Brown's going to want basically around what Hopkins is getting.
And Hopkins is probably also going to want what Hopkins was getting. So,
yeah. So can't do both of those.
All right, let's move on to Baltimore. Gus Edwards lands on the pup. Shock. I am stunned. Oh, what are the odds? J.K. Dobbins also no lock to play in week 1, but obviously has a significantly better chance. At the very latest, he'll be back week 2. I mean, I'd be surprised if he was out more than a single game, if he's out a game at all. He's looked okay coming back so far, but how are we thinking this room shakes up differently at all? Does it change at all? For me, this is basically what I thought was going to happen, so it doesn't move the needle for me at all in Baltimore.
No, you're just talking about whatever the starters will be for that one game, which is what? Batty and Justice Hill for one game or something like that. Like
still Mike Davis. Right now.
Mike Davis, yeah, sure. That's how little I think about Mike Davis. It doesn't matter to me. Like it.
Hey,
so
they were the ones flirting with Melvin Gordon forever until he re-signed.
It would have been something
Denver.
if Melvin Gordon had signed and were
having
these issues.
Yeah, then we would have a conversation.
Right, and so I still believe, if you had to put odds on it, that this seems like the place that Kenyan Drake lands. That's just my guess, but we'll see where he actually ends up going.
I think that it's good. Obviously they're playing the Jets in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
So very easily could be an out of hand early game if the Jets defense is anything like they were last year, which I hear Sauce Gardner's doing phenomenal. That's great. It's also only one guy on the defense. There was a lot of holes last year.
What are you talking about? You only need one corner. Just ask the Jags. It worked for them. They won that Super Bowl, right?
So if they sit there and play the Jets, and I think that Dobbins is going to be active week 1. I don't think he's going to be fully unleashed or anything along those lines.
Yeah.
So they're going to
be out there in the first quarter for the first 2 series, and that'll be the day.
Yeah, I would be very frightened if to play J.K. Dobbins in week 1, even if they sat there and said, yeah, he's great. We're going to, completely 100% put him out there. Yeah, you say that until you get up by 2 touchdowns, and then you
say that to the Jets, so they watch the wrong film. That's what you say.
And to your fan base, because it's like, no, we're totally going to come on. And then you just defend it by, well, we were already up by 3 touchdowns at the start of the second quarter. So why risk getting him hurt? We'll just have Justice Hill play the rest of the game. It's fine.
Yeah. So I believe that J.K. Dobbins and Mike Davis will both have double-digit touches, and Tyler Batty will have almost double-digit, around 9, 8, something like that. Jackson's obviously going to have plenty of his. So I just think they're going to spread it out completely on week 1. I wouldn't think it's going to happen or last too long. It's week 2, I would expect Dobbins to lead the backfield in carries, touches, yards, everything, as he will for basically the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I know that there's some fear about his return just because it happened early, but he's still having trouble with it. And then you see guys like Chris Godwin sitting there and oh no, we're back at team practice and everything else. We're ready to go. Let's get going. And his was 2 months, 3 months later or something. Maybe even more. I can't even. I'm not doing math right now for that.
Right.
Not everybody heals at the same rate. We know this. Everybody's body is different, even among pro athletes. It takes a while. So I personally am not overly worried about J.K. Dobbins for the season, but no one on this show was particularly high on J.K. Dobbins to begin with.
Right.
So it's like,
We've
this
seen
to me is like, it's
the Ravens' hand. They've already showed their hand of how they want to play the backfield for years.
This to me is non-news. All of this. It's only news because there's large segments of the fantasy football population that view it as news. But to this show, this is a non-news story.
It's also worth noting Isaiah Likely is standing out in the preseason. It's only noteworthy because now he's effectively the new Hayden Hurst or the new Nick Boyle, whoever is tight end 2 in Baltimore. A name to know, because if something were to happen to Mark Andrews, suddenly Isaiah Likely, who's very talented, highly rated in all of my projections and everything coming into the draft, takes over a Mark Andrews type role for 2 or 3 games. Certainly worth a flyer. A name to know, but not for drafting.
Yeah, it's not something I'm going to be. It's not worth drafting, but it is something to know what it is for the waiver wire at some point. Could matter theoretically.
Right.
Honestly, I wouldn't be the most surprised if he became eventually basically the number 3 target and took over in this like a slot tight end type role.
Sure.
As a big slot instead of Devin Duvernay or James Proche, either one.
You don't have to sell. You don't have to sell me too hard on that. We're not.
Yeah.
We're not believers in any of those names you just rattled off. So.
I mean, they signed Demarcus Robinson, useless. They have James Proche and Devin Duvernay behind Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews, who are the clear and like miles ahead of the other options on the offense.
Buffalo, do you want us to just clear out? I mean, you just want to take the floor, do a quick lap. So in round 16, don't take Jamison Crowder, take Isaiah McKenzie. That's it.
Hey, it was like one of the first episodes we recorded, and then I'm just sitting here now, so it feels like, a year later. Just being like, well, Jamison Crowder, you can't always follow the money. Because apparently Isaiah McKenzie, who did nothing, as you said, Neil, in Denver, as you saw.
He's done nothing his entire career.
I was going to say, I'm not wrong about that. He's done nothing forever.
Denver, it's just ever.
It's not just, he's a career special teamer and kick returner. Like
one good game, though.
Yeah, one good game
was like, we might have something here.
Right.
It says more to me about the general health and career status of Jamison Crowder than it does about the merits of Isaiah McKenzie at this point to me, okay?
Well, I'm just curious what happens here now, because if the reports are right and McKenzie has clearly beaten him out for that slot job, does Crowder make the team? Like, why even keep him
probably.
on the team?
No, they probably will.
So if you're going to pay him the money and keep him on the team, he's not just going to sit on the bench and do nothing. He's just going to eat into people.
I think there is a chance that it's not quite a committee slot, but they throw Jamison in the game more than they did anybody that was behind Cole Beasley during his tenure there.
Well, I kind of think what ends up happening is, unlike Cole Beasley, you have McKenzie, who's like the starting slot guy, but he also bounces. Mm-hmm. So he ends up playing on the outside, spelling Gabe Davis, spelling Stephon Diggs, and then Crowder is coming in and playing the slot and only playing the slot.
Mm-hmm.
So McKenzie is effectively the starting slot guy, but only like half of his snaps are going to be there. The rest of them are going to be bouncing around on the outside, filling in wherever. So he's just going to move all over the place, and they're just going to use him wherever they can, including out of the backfield. They're going to get weird with Isaiah.
It's like Weapon X or whatever for their offense.
Right. And those 6 games that he plays before he gets hurt, he is going to be electric. Electric.
Are they going to have him run kicks too? Are they going to have McKenzie running punts and kicks too? Because it's a big part of what he does.
I don't know. I haven't been able to watch any of the Buffalo games, the preseason, only just the highlights of the game where the offense played the first series against Denver and just was on fire. So I saw the highlights for that, but I didn't see any special teams when it came to Buffalo. So I don't know.
Logically speaking, you would think they would continue to have him do that. It's like the whole point of him historically is to do that. That's what he does. So
I had heard James Cook was back there at times.
Yeah, I knew they were going to rotate him in there. I just didn't know. I think it's another thing too. If you're going to use him more in the passing game and use him more on offense, then you don't want him taking.
Yeah, I know. You don't want him back there getting hurt or just being gassed to start the series from running down the field. You don't want any of that. So it begs the question, if Jamison Crowder is not going to be the starting slot and Isaiah McKenzie's going to do it, okay, then does he still run kicks, or is he an actual receiver now and he's
what
not?
does Jack have? Yes.
Well,
He's got Isaiah McKenzie and Duke Johnson as the kick returners right now, with James Cook as the third.
Sure.
And then Khalil Shakir as the punt returner.
Okay.
he's looked good.
So that makes sense. I buy all of that. Duke Johnson, speaking of which, is on the roster bubble after Zach Moss, fighting for his life, has worked his way back into the rotation. I still refuse to believe the people that say Zach Moss is going to have a role on this offense. He will not. We've seen him have a role in this offense and fail miserably. There's a reason they brought in Duke Johnson and drafted James Cook. So it's Zach Moss. He's the reason. So no. Also, OJ Howard reportedly on the block / bubble. So
I think this is part of why they're gonna figure out a way to keep Jamison Crowder. They're gonna move on from whatever else they need to.
Look,
and I saw that
when you're the Bills and you're as good as you are, you can bring in as many people as you want and just throw them away. You don't care. You just rotate through whoever you want.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
And OJ Howard is just good enough that I could see somebody actually being willing to make a trade for it.
But, even like Tampa Bay. Here they have an opening.
Heard, yes.
This is our sassiest stream, I think. It's already.
Send him to New Orleans. Reunite him with Jameis. Put the band back together.
Poor Adam Troutman.
Carolina, Baker Mayfield wins the starting job. But again,
I'm happy you put the quotes.
It's because there's no winner. I get the joke because there's no winner. You can win that job, but there's no winner as the starting quarterback in Carolina.
The winner is DJ Moore.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's the only real winner here.
Rashard Higgins is also reportedly taking away targets from Robbie Anderson, who
tells you everything you need to know about Robbie Anderson in one sentence. Tells you everything you got to know.
It's probably because he just doesn't like Baker Mayfield. He already put that out there, saying about how mad he'd be if Baker would come to the Panthers on social media. And so now that he's there, he's had a couple practices and such with him, and teams like, we probably shouldn't connect you two.
My advice to Robbie Anderson would be to stop talking.
Well,
just stop saying anything.
My advice to Carolina in general is to just delete the Jets number out of their phone, because they traded for Darnold, they got Robbie Anderson, and now they're reportedly in talks with the Jets about Denzel Mims. Just delete the number. You clearly can't help yourself. Just take away the ability. That's all.
We've all got friends like that. Can't get over their toxic ex.
Yeah.
Just can't get over it.
How many times are you going to go to the well and just realize that the well's empty and it's just causing you pain?
The well's not empty. It's full of poison.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Let's make it even darker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Somebody's poisoned the water hole. It's literally, it's pretty bad.
And there's also reports that I saw just before the show from Jack that it said, based on this preseason game that is tonight for the Panthers, it is Robbie Anderson and Terrace Marshall and Rashard Higgins fighting for just outside work, and that's it.
Yeah.
Shi Smith is the slot now.
Yeah.
Which is,
buy it.
Oh, okay. He didn't play almost at all last year.
They don't know
Outside
what
of
they're
Curtis
doing.
Samuel leaving, the slot has not mattered at all in years.
Yeah.
In Carolina. So.
And Carolina doesn't know what they're doing. Clearly. How much more evidence do we need that Carolina has no idea what they're doing?
I don't know. Ask Justin Fields.
Yeah, exact. Thank you. There you go.
Dallas. James Washington out the first 2 to 6 weeks of the season after fracturing his foot. Tyron Smith out for months after a severe hamstring injury. Also, they're not pushing Michael Gallup to come back, but they're not going to put him on the PUP either. So
yeah,
they're definitely taking their time and being cautious. So Jerry just looking to murder Michael Gallup again. And I will just, boy, am I going to steer clear of that. I was interested in Michael Gallup like before all of this was happening, but he had the delay in his recovery. He had the setback. Then he just got onto the field recently. Then with all the reports we were hearing, our guy Edwin Porras was saying maybe October, November would be a realistic timeline for him to healthy return. And now they're not even going to put him on PUP, and they're going to try to throw him out there with CD Lamb in like the first 4 weeks of the season. This just screams disaster. It screams Cowboys football, but it screams disaster as well, which I guess
and it's not like I can think of a literal exact scenario where I'm pretty sure they rushed Gallup back from an injury, and he like lasted a quarter.
Yeah,
he lasted like not even the full game, or maybe a game and a quarter, but definitely not 2 games.
Yeah,
and was right back out.
Yeah,
like this just sounds like Cowboys football.
Deja vu.
Sounds like Cowboys football to me. Jalen Tolbert, the one you want.
Yes. It's the one I'm most interested in.
I mean, I think he'll have a slow start.
I mean, probably, but like, okay, fine. I'll amend it. CD Lamb's obviously the one you want.
Yeah.
But anyone, of the receivers not named CD Lamb, Jalen Tolbert is the one that is the most intriguing.
Yeah, we're going to have big Noah Brown.
No, not a big Noah Brown guy. No, sorry. Not a big James Washington guy either, even with the injury. Before the injury, doesn't matter. So, no, it's Tolbert. And Tolbert's ADP is actually still somewhat reasonable, surprisingly.
I think, and even now, if the Gallup news continues to trend towards him not being on PUP and everything else, then maybe his ADP drops.
Great. Love it. Love everything about it.
Even better. A couple of times go undrafted with Gallup being picked up in like the 15th round, something like that.
Gross.
Yep, not interested. Denver. Tim Patrick tore his ACL, out for the year. You absolutely hate to see that. But KJ Hamler coming back, looking strong.
Very much a different style of player. So
yes,
we'll see how that goes.
He has a clearer path now to snaps than he did before.
Sure. They have a lot of guys. They're going to probably carry 6 or 7 wide receivers. Hamler will be the first one through the chute to be the 3rd wide receiver. They've got a few other ones.
Kendall Hinton as a wide receiver, or
no, and Kendall Hinton's not even on the page. Kendall Hinton's not even a lock to make the team.
Got it.
And he should try to be the backup quarterback again. If he'd have a better shot at making the team. Yeah, he'd have a better shot at making the team.
Josh Johnson, actually.
Oh, is it not Josh Johnson?
It is Josh Johnson now.
Yes.
But yeah, the Broncos are probably going to carry 6 or 7 wide receivers at this point. It's a bunch of bodies, and I won't bore you with going down the list because it's not relevant at this time. Hammer will be the first one through the chute, and we'll see if he can handle it, and we'll see if he can stay healthy. If he can, how excited are you for the guy who's going to be Tyler Lockett light?
Not even, because if you're sitting there and you're looking at the Seattle offense for the past decade, basically, that's Russell Wilson was there. Did it carry more than 2 pass catchers? No, it didn't.
Never. Not even going back to the Doug Baldwin days.
Exactly. So you can count on 2 players on this offense to have not only solid fantasy relevancy, but good fantasy output. Obviously, everybody is on the Courtland Sutton train, and Jerry Jeudy is like being pushed back, thought of as an afterthought, basically, but he's still going to have a good season. I mean, he's a great route runner. If he can work on his drops, which we know is not really, at least in most cases, is not a like general trait players continue every season. It's like an up and down type thing. So is Albert O going to be get some targets now because of the Tim Patrick injury?
Honestly,
or is it going to go to... Yeah, is it going to go to like a running back? Like
it might go to Dulcich if you want to talk about tight end. That becomes the other interesting conversation as it relates to Denver, where they love Greg Dulcich. They've never met a B-level tight end that they didn't like here in Denver. So we'll see. The Albert O hype train is already cooling over the last month or so because it's being some of the steam is being siphoned off to the Greg Dulcich hype train. So it's a whole thing, but there's nobody else in the wide receiver room because you're talking about guys like Montrell Washington, Tyree Cleveland. Like none of that matters. It's like they're just there in case an injury was to happen. It might be one of the running backs because the only thing with any certainty yet, 100%, we don't know all the starters in Denver, but it might be Melvin Gordon again, catching more.
Javonte was the receiving back last year.
That's fair. Okay, then it might be. Then maybe that is the way that it'll separate Javonte a little bit more.
If
Don't
Javonte
give
was
people
to
any
sit
more.
there,
I mean, don't give people.
I
any
know,
more
I
ammunition.
know. He's
Don't
already
do
shooting
that.
up too much, and
Don't
people
do
are.
that.
Every article, it seems like any website you go to for fantasy that has one of those league winners, like these guys are 5 league winners.
Oh, you mean like
at.
sponsor of this show, Fantasy Pros? Shout out to
Yes.
Fantasy Pros, by the way. Love your content.
But I feel like every single one of those articles has Javonte Williams as a league winner, which, and me being the one that has him the highest rank out of all 3 of us, still would be like, all right, but we're pushing him really, really high here. We're pushing him more high than to a higher level than I'm probably comfortable with.
Yeah,
people are taking him ahead of like Leonard Fournette.
I won't
Alvin
roster
Kamara.
any shares of Javonte.
He's too pricey now.
I won't do it. I just there's no chance on this earth that I'm going to have any shares. I'll have plenty of Melvin Gordon shares. I've learned.
Sure.
I've done a lot of mocks and I've done quite a few drafts at this point. I will have plenty of Melvin Gordon shares because people apparently think Melvin Gordon. Did you know Melvin Gordon died?
He's dead. Yep.
Did you know that? Did you know Melvin Gordon is dead? I didn't know that. I was
I
unaware that the
was
funeral
aware of
must
that,
have happened. I wasn't invited.
I mean, Melvin Gordon essentially said that at his press conference whenever he was talking about Javonte's supposed to be the guy. That's what this that's what this coaching staff wants.
I heard
Not
that.
wrong.
I heard that. I'm sure he's not wrong, but also bip 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 bip. I don't buy it. When the rubber meets the road, it's going to work like it did last year.
This is off-season coach talk when we're sitting there and we have historical evidence of Hackett splitting a backfield.
Yeah.
Very much down the middle, basically. The last time he had a lead back was Fournette in Jacksonville. And that was actually only 1 or 2 years that he did that because Fournette started getting injured a bunch.
Also, because they didn't have anything else. I remember those teams. They had nothing even remotely.
You could pick a lot of reasons. There's multiple.
Yeah,
reasons.
right. That's true. That's true. But is there? Let's move on. We've spent too much time talking about the B players of Denver.
By the way, we had nothing to wrap up on Chicago because go get your Bears. I've found that out. As I mentioned, that nothing has changed since that show in regard of nobody wants the Bears. So if you're interested in skill position players on the Bears, they're all yours.
Darnell Mooney, actually, kind of a value.
Yeah. I've gotten a lot of
weirdly
Mooney
slides, Fields slides. Even Khalil Herbert slides pretty far. David Montgomery's been going in like the 4th round.
Again, I'm seeing a disturbing trend where people they get David Montgomery and then they don't get Khalil Herbert, even with the discount on Khalil Herbert. And I'm like, what are you even doing? You probably want that. Like, you probably want that if you're getting
and in Detroit, nothing's changed in Detroit either. So
nope.
Not notable here.
Just
or Cleveland because we literally just had that show yesterday. So thank God we don't have to talk about Cleveland again.
Yeah, looking forward to not talking about Cleveland for a good long time.
Green Bay, Romeo Doubs. He is the one that you should be talking about rookie-wise, not Christian Watson. We kind of just overlooked him in this terrible, terrible wide receiver room that they have. But he's been impressive in camp and in the preseason when given the opportunity. Somebody has to step up and be the B for Alan Lazard. So, I mean, until Odell Beckham gets there, Romeo Doubs.
And then Odell Beckham's going to have to learn the chemistry with Rodgers.
Exactly. And
all that stuff, you know?
Nets on the sideline.
Yeah.
And then something.
He's going to kick the kicking net down and get tangled in it. It's really embarrassing, but he's going to be laugh.
It's been confusing news reports coming out of Green Bay camp, the entire training camp. One week or one day you'll be sitting there and seeing Doubs getting just razzled and or fluffed up because he's just such a great player and he's making all these plays. It's amazing. He's the best player on this offense. And then the next he's sitting there, he can't drop passes, can't run wrong routes.
Are you referring to the Aaron Rodgers press conferences they keep doing in his locker and putting on Twitter? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've watched a lot of those myself, and they're so mind-numbingly infuriating for the reason that you just mentioned, where on Monday, Romeo Doubs looks like he could be a real contributor for this team and seems to be winning Rodgers' trust. Cut to Wednesday, Romeo Doubs makes one mistake, and Aaron Rodgers clowns him on a camera in front of everyone and talks about how you can't do this and you can't do that and how he still has a long way to go. And you know what it teaches me? is that I don't want any part of any of it.
No.
I will be completely fine to not roster any Green Bay wide receivers if I don't have to, unless they become insanely cheap, which many of them are. But I'm just not interested. And what I do believe in more than anything is the next note that's on the page here. That's the part that I believe. That's what I'm sold on.
By the way, right now Dobbs and Watson are going wide receiver 65 and 66 right next to each other. Dobbs has moved just a spot ahead of him, but there you go. The hype train doing its job.
No one knows anything.
You can have either one of them for free if you want them, but I don't want either one.
I was going to say, even free seems like a really steep price tag.
Yeah, A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Is this a typo? Is this 1A and 1A?
That's what Coach said.
It's a Nathaniel Hackett quote is what it is.
That can't be right.
LaFleur. LaFleur literally said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm confusing coaching staffs. You're right. It is LaFleur. The other bane of my existence. Yeah, the other person that
Spider-Man meme. You got it. Yeah. You're good.
Yeah, but he literally said in a press conference that, I see this backfield as a 1A and a 1A. All right.
Well, one of the 1As is going at 19 overall, and the other 1A is going at 64 overall. So I wonder which one is the value. I mean we've said it all along. A.J. Dillon, it's too easy to make the comparison, but we're talking about the same coach who looked at Derrick Henry, looked at Dion Lewis, and said, I got to get Dion Lewis the ball more.
He's the guy who couldn't figure out the picture. Yeah. He couldn't figure out the picture of Derrick Henry standing next to Dion Lewis.
He has baby Derrick Henry sitting on his bench, and here we are in year 3 of this? He's like, you know what? Maybe this guy's okay. He's going to give him more work this year. I hope so.
Fine. In like a year, Mike Vrabel will be there, and he'll straighten out that whole mess. Mike Vrabel will come in and fix it again. That's what he does. It's fine.
You can only waste like 10 to 11 of Aaron Rodgers' prime years before they fire you in Green Bay.
Wow, that's a long way to go for a Mike McCarthy joke, but I enjoed it.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy set a precedent.
Long way. God, that's such a deep cut.
That's it for Green Bay, unless anybody has anything else. I don't think so.
Tunyon was activated off a pup. That's good. But
but not shocking like we talked about him. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Here come, speaking of hype trains, my God.
Oh, God, I'm just going to leave. All right. Houston. You all have a good show.
So Royce Freeman, who, again, another player we glossed over, is the clear RB4 in this real messy backfield. Now, I glossed over him before because I thought he wouldn't even make the team. But he has seemingly beat out Dara Gumbawale for the backup third down running back role to at least be the pass catcher and get some kind of work in this mixture. But it's still a full-blown committee, a car wash that I want no part of. But if you're on the internet for more than 5 minutes, you'll hear all about Dameon Pierce being the next Barry Sanders and being so spectacular and amazing. Look, is he going to be the RB1 on this team? Probably, but does that mean anything? Is that even relevant?
So you're looking at these factors. One, this is basically the same offensive line that was the worst in the NFL last year.
Yep.
It was the worst rushing offense last year.
Kirk Herbstreit pointed that out last night on their broadcast. A lot. Many times he brought that up.
And we're also looking at the fact that last night he was the lead back by far on the first drive of the game. Yeah. And I think the second drive too.
Looked reasonably competent doing it.
Yeah.
Every third down, though, came off for Rex Burkhead.
Yep. Immediately, too.
Yeah.
So his hype train is going to go straight up a mountain, and I am not going to want to be anywhere near it.
Is that a Fitzcarraldo reference from literature?
Idea.
Oh my God! When did this become the smartest show on the internet?
He is RB 37 on ESPN, RB 39 on Sleeper.
That's definitely moving up.
And
he went from 44. Sleeper tweeted it out earlier today. Mm-hmm. Well, not tweeted it. Push notification did.
Yeah.
He went from 44 to 39.
Yeah, in a week.
So
he is steadily climbing as we head into draft weekend. again, what was so interesting to me, the reason that he graded out so low for me coming into this process, he was in a 3-headed monster at Florida. So he was fighting a 5th-year senior and a junior to even get snaps at Florida. Now he's going to come in and suddenly be a workhorse in the NFL. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. He had 329 rush attempts total in his 4-year career at Florida. He never had more than 106 rush attempts in a single season, never had more than 30% of the running back target share, was never the pass catching back, was always second or third. And it's going to be the same deal here. We already talked about Rex Burkhead is going to be the clear-cut pass catching back, plus Royce Freeman is going to fight with him for that as well. Last season, Houston had 372 rush attempts for their running backs and 100 targets. So let's go crazy and assume that Dameon Pierce not only is the lead back, but gets 60% of the rushing work. That's 223 rushes, assuming he has basically the role we're projecting of 30 targets. He averaged 3.3 yards after contact at Florida. Houston averaged 1.6 yards before contact last season. They were pitiful. But even if you translate his college numbers over and give him a crazy 4.9 yards per carry, which would have been 7th best in the NFL last season, he would have 1,093 rush yards, 22 receptions, 176 receiving yards. Give him all 5 of Houston's rushing touchdowns from last season, and he finishes the year with 178.9 PPR points or 10.5 points a game, RB33. That is your ceiling projection for Dameon Pierce. Give him literally everything out of the Houston backfield, and he's RB33. But he's your league winner that you want to hang your hat on. For him to finish RB24, he would need to get at least 9 touchdowns this season. For him to get to the top 12, he would need a total of 18 touchdowns. The running backs in Houston have had a combined 12 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. Amazing.
You go ahead and take that expensive dart throw.
Right.
I'll stay away.
I've seen people tweeting out they're taking him in the back end of the 7th round. My God.
The same round that I think Rashad Bateman, Darnell Mooney, Michael Thomas, guys like that are going.
Like right now in ADP, he's going ahead of James Cook. He's going ahead of Alexander Madison, ahead of Daryl Henderson, ahead of Naheem Hines, ahead of Kenny Gainwell, who's the starter in Philly. Come on, we all know it.
He's going ahead of the other one that people won't stop talking about that I'm sure we'll get to because, the alphabet. Brian Robinson, who people also won't shut up about. But at least Brian Robinson is relatively inexpensive. Like if that's what floats your boat, go ahead. This seems like an incredibly, incredibly expensive and risky value proposition. I know, Mike, you don't like Rex Burkhead, but frankly, it's like, give me Rex Burkhead undrafted as the 3rd down back. That seems like a much better plan for relative
Rex
price
Burkhead's going at RB77.
Yeah, people hate Rex Burkhead. He's dead.
He's way off the page.
Now, granted, Rex Burkhead
going after Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
That's insane.
Yes.
It's bad. Rex Burkhead is going completely undrafted. Like
how many people are drafting Kyle Juszczyk?
More than are drafting Rex Burkhead, apparently.
Jeez.
Yeah, Rex Burkhead is also similar to Melvin Gordon. He died. He's dead. He's out of the NFL. And it's like, look, I don't like Rex Burkhead that much either. I don't hate him as much as Mike does. But come on, like he has a job. He has a job. And yes, do I think Rex Burkhead's going to finish the season? Play all 17 games for you? Probably not. He's my age. I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt he's making it. History is not on his side in that. But he's got a real job and a real role, and people are like, nah. 7th round for Dameon Pierce. That's what I want. That's what I'm going to build my team around.
All right. Nothing of note for Indy or Jacksonville. Kansas City. I should have never trusted Rojo. It's my fault.
We tried to warn you.
You did.
We'd feel bad. I'd feel worse for you, but we all tried to talk you off that.
And you know what? Like I said, I've been the guy who's been out on Rojo literally every single year. So I was like, hey, why not take a swing this year? Nope.
I don't know why you suddenly reversed course on it. You were pointing in the right direction for so long. And
also, Jerick McKinnon is still going to be the third down back there. CEH is still going to be the starter. Isaiah Pacheco is fine. He'll have a role, but
he's going to spell CEH at times.
And we were talking about Kenyan Drake landing spots, and you'd mentioned the Ravens. This is the one that I actually think would make a certain amount of sense because I just don't buy into anything that's not. I don't even like CEH, but at least I buy into it a little bit. The rest of it, Kenyan Drake could clown the remainder of those names you listed off.
But again, there's a reason Isaiah Pacheco went so late in the draft and got passed over by so many people. Yes, he's fast. Yes, he's athletic. Yes, he can do some stuff. But my favorite clip that I've seen of him is when he's running and there's a gigantic hole to his right and he just runs directly into the line and gets tackled. And Patrick Mahomes is just behind him going, come on, man, run to the hole. And that's exactly how you get put on the bench.
That's not how you get on the field.
No, that wasn't gravelly enough or Kermit the Frog enough to be a Patrick Mahomes impression.
Sorry, I wasn't going for the gusto on that one. That's my bad. But no, otherwise, nothing has really changed in the wide receiver core or anything else. So can move past Kansas City. Vegas, Kenyan Drake, who we've mentioned several times now, is going to get cut.
Just go anywhere else.
He's already been cut. Did you hear Kenyan Drake got cut? We've already mentioned it 5 times.
I don't think he's actually officially been cut.
Yes, he has. I looked it up. He's been officially released. It was either late last night or early this morning, but he is officially released.
I knew he was still technically there, lingering around. They had hope he would get traded somewhere.
But... No, that failed, and they officially released him to get to 80. So he's officially available. He's got his $11 million in his pocket because his contract was fully guaranteed. Good for him. And now he gets to sit on his couch. And he said as much on Twitter, where he's like, I'm counting my $11 million, sitting on the couch, waiting for the phone to ring. And Kenyan Drake, I think, is going to wait for the right offer. I've seen people postulating that maybe he would go to Houston or maybe he would go to somewhere where he would just have an opportunity to play. And I don't agree with that. Why would you waste your time when you're 28 years old?
He's already got the money.
He's already got the money. You're 28.
Play for the league minimum on a team that's competing.
This year, because you want to put out good tape because you're 28. And you know you're only going to get 1 to 2 more contracts. You might get 2 one-year deals, or you might get 1 more 2-year deal. That's going to be it, more than likely, for you, because you're about to turn 30. His agent knows this. He knows this. So, yeah, I think it's much more likely that he winds up in a Baltimore or a Kansas City, or it's on a team that we don't know about yet because somebody is going to get hurt, and then he'll go there. Yeah, Philadelphia. Sure. Go ahead.
There's still, by the way, you may be thinking Kenyan Drake gets cut. Oh, man. I got to boost my Josh Jacobs.
Nope.
So the reason they're willing to cut Kenyan Drake is not because Josh Jacobs is so good and they trust him.
It's because Josh McDaniels is an insane person.
That, but also Brandon Bolden was always going to be the third down back here. He was always going to have that established role.
I referenced my earlier statement, by the way, when it is related to that.
But in addition to that, Amir Abdullah has basically supplanted Kenyan Drake and taken over that spot on the depth chart as the backup, between the tackles / goal line back. So that's why they felt they could, exactly.
Yeah,
that's why they felt they could get rid of Kenyan Drake because Abdullah was basically doing.
Mike, don't get me started over here on the Amir Abdullah. Don't get me started.
All this has done is given Amir Abdullah more value, but even then, I don't want Amir Abdullah.
No,
I'm just saying, don't overvalue Josh Jacobs. He's
like
still just as bad of an investment as he was before.
I feel like I'm in that Robin Williams Jumanji meme. What year is it? Yeah. We're talking about Brandon Bolden and Amir Abdullah, and it's only in a Josh McDaniels offense that you could ever be having this conversation in 2022.
Yeah. It's as we feared. It's going to be New England West.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Except less talented.
It'll be a full car wash. And the only way that you'll get your Josh Jacobs value that you're investing is if he has a LeGarrette Blount 18 touchdown season. That's it.
Good luck with that.
That's the only way he returns back on your investment because he's not going to give you the yardage. He's not going to give you the receptions. You just have to hope he falls into the end zone a bunch.
So follow me on a statement here. The only Raiders running back that I think is worth rostering is potentially Zamir White, and I don't even like Zamir White.
Yeah, I don't even want Zamir White.
Yeah, okay, so it's either Zamir White or nothing.
What's the path?
Nothing is fine, by the way. If you want to go with nothing, I'll take it.
Yeah.
If Josh Jacobs gets injured, then it's only 3 players that split the backfield instead of 4.
Hey, I'll amend my statement to nothing. If we want to go with nothing. Nothing is fine. I'm good with nothing.
I'm good with nothing. Yeah.
Nothing is fine. We'll go with nothing. The official important nonsense advice, at least on this show, is there is no Raiders running back that you want.
Right.
Good. Okay. As long as we nailed that
Your
down.
best case scenario for Zamir White is he decides he wants to drive himself to a game, and the rest of the running backs get on the wrong plane and end up in the wrong city, and he's the only healthy running back. Don't
say that.
That's it.
There's so much bad karma involved in that.
Where am I wrong? Like, I thought we were in Philadelphia this week. We're actually in Pittsburgh, and then they just end up in the wrong city, and then Zamir White's just the only one on the active roster that happens to be at the game. That's his path to value.
Everybody else gets COVID and can't play. Yeah. That's the other path?
He just missed that meeting that everybody was in.
Yeah.
So he didn't.
He missed that meeting. Right. Yeah. So everybody's gone. That team is going to be so mind-numbingly frustrating for anything that isn't Devontae Adams that I just don't see I've been doing a lot of drafts and a lot of mocks because it is the season, right? I've consistently come back with no Raiders.
Well, here's another one. Darren Waller. His status for week 1 is technically up in the air. He's been missing practices. They keep saying with a hamstring injury. Then it was an undisclosed injury. Now he's talking about they just fired his agent, and in the background, he's been working on getting new agent representation, and he's been negotiating his contract this whole time. So really, it feels like he's just been holding out for a new deal.
To be a part of
holding
training
in.
camp.
Yeah,
He just did it elaborately.
Been sitting out with an injury so that they wouldn't fine him, and now he's getting new representation, and maybe he's going to magically be healthy as soon as he can get his new contract signed. So.
We saw that recently with someone else. I can't remember who exactly, but it was funny.
Joe Mixon.
Yeah, that's it. Joe Mixon. I'm hurt.
All off season. And
Joe, here's some money. I'm great.
Signs the dotted line, and hey, I feel much better.
Go run through that wall.
Is this a magic pen? Great.
Wow, suddenly my knee is just completely fine. Like, weird how that happened.
Although,
Chargers.
if Darren Waller does actually have an injury and does miss time, Renfro does become a suitable fantasy option again for any duration.
But not at the ADP that you're going to have to spend up at. Like,
as we've said, Renfro's not.
I agree with you, Mike. He would be useful if Waller wasn't playing, but it doesn't matter because you will have had to spend so much to acquire it in the draft that you'll never return value on it, even if Waller doesn't play. Doesn't make any sense. Don't draft Raiders, folks. Maybe Derek Carr, maybe Devontae Adams. Yeah.
Isaiah Spiller injures his ankle, should miss a couple of weeks. Josh Kelly appears to have won the RB2 job. He looked like he was winning it last offseason too, and then ultimately lost it. So who knows? We'll see what happens. Again, it's another situation where I'm not super interested in handcuffing Austin Eckler. I just can't trust what's behind him.
I would have been happy with Isaiah Spiller, but now with the injury, now we go back in the tank.
Well, it's the injury, and he hasn't gotten the reps, and he hasn't looked good when he has gotten the reps this offseason. So
yeah, because they also still have Roundtree. Yeah, because they still have Roundtree too. So it's just a mess.
Also, Josh Palmer expected to see more targets after he finally won the wide receiver 3 job. Again, I had him winning the wide receiver 3 job anyway, and just didn't care. I had all the targets top heavy to Eckler, Williams, and Allen. So he's worth a dart throw. Because, again, if something happens to any of those guys, cough, Mike Williams, cough, then all of a sudden Josh Palmer steps into a solidified wide receiver 2 role. So,
yeah. He's a handcuff, essentially, at wide receiver. That's about it.
Yeah. And it's a late round investment, too. It's still not something you really have to overpay for. So, worth a dart throw. Nothing for the Rams. Miami. Myles Gaskin could be a cut candidate. We had talked about that. Him and Savon Ahmed, we don't know. So they're not going to carry all these running backs. They couldn't possibly. There's no way. They don't all play special teams. Somebody's not going to make the final cut. The interesting one, though, is Mike Gosicki, who, remember, is playing on the franchise tag, so has a fully guaranteed contract. And with the acquisition of Tyreek Hill, already having Jalen Waddle, getting Chase Edmonds, and basically they've been asking him to block all off season, and they're saying, "Wow, you're really not good at this. You don't."
It's almost like I brought up all of this on the Miami show. If you're interested in that, go listen to the Miami show. I brought up all of it. I cratered Mike Gosicki in my rankings this year.
All of it has essentially come true to the point where they're now saying, "We don't even want you on the team anymore," and they're willing to take whatever they can get for Mike Gosicki on the trade market. But I don't think anybody's going to pay for it.
No, why would you? There's no reason to pay for that. Just let him get cut, hit the market, and then you can pay him whatever you want.
Well, they're not going to cut him because it's a fully guaranteed.
Yeah. Okay, then fine. Then he can sit on the bench for Miami for the whole year and do nothing and block and
at
do
that,
it poorly.
Though, they might have to do a Baker Mayfield style trade where they have to give up stuff to get rid of the contract.
You're literally talking about
that could happen.
You'll get a 6th round pick back and have to give up a 7th, or you swap 6s or something.
Right, you do some sort of weird conditional pick situation, but then you're picking up part of Gosicki's salary to a certain tolerance. Maybe that happens.
It's like Gosicki had said, "Oh, I actually am really a wide receiver. I'm not actually a tight end. Did you guys not know that?"
Right.
Basically. The previous guys who were here knew that. You guys don't seem to.
The most boring team in fantasy football, Minnesota. We have nothing to update on them because nothing ever changes. It's all just, it is what it is in Minnesota.
No, they just hike up their Dockers a little bit more, tighten that belt down.
Same thing with New England, no updates there. New Orleans, Michael Thomas dealing with a little bit of a hamstring issue. Again, he's going to keep dealing with issues, but he's still a significant value for where you can get him in drafts. The upside alone is worth the investment.
Edwin Porras would tell you, too, coming off the injury that he had, having lingering hamstring issues for a while as he recovers from it, is going to happen.
Right.
It's how
right now he's a 7th round pick in ADP.
And this might help his ADP become even more of a value. People will get scared off because, it's another Thomas injury.
Yeah. I'm fine with him in the 7th round as my 4th wide receiver. If you're telling me he's going to slide to the 8th, great.
Awesome.
Even better.
It's pretty good. It's people are really, really afraid of it, though.
Let's see. The Jets. Zach Wilson, week 1 in question. Joe Flacco viewed as the starter. He definitely is the starter for at least week 1. So,
revenge game against Baltimore.
Right.
Slightly less talented cast.
Is it going to be a revenge game when Baltimore beats them 45-3?
Oh, I do want to go back real quick. I skipped over New England, but Ty Montgomery left tonight's game injured. We got that alert while we've been doing this. So that is extremely notable because he is essentially the 3rd down back there. If he doesn't play, if something happens that he's severely hurt or he's out for a significant amount of time, Ramondre Stevenson hype train just continues to get out of control.
If he was the 3rd down back all to himself, I could almost see the hype.
Right. He's already basically splitting that job. But if he's got
if he had it all, I kind of get it.
Then he becomes
split the groundwork and get all the passing work.
Yeah,
it's like he's the RB1.
Right.
Poor Damian Harris.
He'd probably be borderline top 24 at that point.
He'd be in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
But the Jets don't matter. Just Joe Flacco note. That's pretty much it. Giants, Sterling Shepard back off of PUP ahead of the season, even though he's been virtually a ghost in that locker room all off season. So we'll see if he's we'll see if he's healthy enough to play, if he makes the team. With all the young bodies they have there and all the injury history that he's had, do they let him go?
I think they like him too much.
I don't remember what his contract is. I'd have to go check Sterling Shepard's contract. Is this the last year of his contract? Or is it? Yeah, I know. Is this the last year of his deal though, or is he?
I can double check that real quick.
You're sitting there and you're looking at Kenny Golladay, who they wish would not be on the roster anymore.
Right.
They're paying way too much money. They can't cut him.
Sterling Shepard has He had an option year on that deal for next year, but it looks like a lot of it got voided.
This is it. This is the last year
Yeah.
of his deal.
Yeah, it looks like there was some sort of weird option year that he had for 2023, but it looks like they voided all of that. So
Yeah.
this is it.
Save $2 million by cutting him.
Maybe they do, but I'm guessing that they're going to want to keep him.
Sure.
Just as a solid, reliable option for Daniel Jones, because basically he loves Sterling Shepard.
Yes. I would also say he's been effectively like the tight end role whenever Evan Ingram hasn't played. They lost Evan Ingram. Then we talked about on the show, boy, is Ricky Seals-Jones just going to screw up another opportunity. He gets injured. He's out for the season. So yes was the answer. No longer in that starting role, done for the year. Looks like rookie Daniel Bellinger is going to effectively be the starter, but it's going to kind of be split between Bellinger and Myrick, and even undrafted free agent Austin Allen has a shot to get on the field some. It's all disgusting.
It's all gross.
I don't want any of it at all, but if there's anything that saves Sterling Shepard's role on this team, it's that he comes back in the slot and is effectively their tight end role. Goes back to being their body that they throw it to in the red zone, but that's pretty much it.
Saquon Barkley aside, is there anything you're actually even excited about?
On the Giants in general?
Yeah.
At cost, no.
Yeah, it doesn't at cost. Yeah, it's Saquon, and then
I still say Kadarius Toney is overpriced.
Right.
And I still say Wan'Dale Robinson isn't as good as people would let you believe. I would take a dart throw on Kenny Galladay because I can have him in the last round. And he could / should be the target monster on this team. So theoretically, he's the most talented of
I liked the Wan'Dale Robinson thing a little bit more before Sterling Shepard came back.
Yeah, this kills Wan'Dale.
So now it's like I don't really want Wan'Dale. So it's like, okay, well, so now I'm getting some real Raiders vibes, where it's like I don't want anything. It's all bad
at the top and then nothing else.
Yeah, it's all bad. Like it's like ugh.
All right, Philadelphia. Miles Sanders dealing with a hamstring injury. Never heard that before.
I think his middle name is dealing with hamstring injury.
I like it. But again, it doesn't matter because Kenneth Gainwell, he's the starter anyway. So.
And Boston Scott is virtually free.
Yeah, both of them are.
Who will be there? And Boston Scott will be the red zone back for most of the year.
But again, I still say there's a non-zero chance that not only if it stays as is, Kenny Gainwell probably leads the team certainly in targets.
Yeah,
but potentially in rushes as well by the end of the season, or if they are competitive and Miles Sanders keeps dealing with these issues, that they end up in the Damian Harris, Kenyan Drake / some other veteran running back that doesn't make a team somewhere. They add someone else.
Sure.
Pittsburgh, you want us to lay out for this one too, Mike?
No.
No, he wants us to do it, and he just wants to duck down out of shot.
There's not a whole lot.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett's moved up to the number 2 spot, pushing Trubisky for the starting spot sooner rather than later. There's also the reports now that Mason Rudolph is being shopped as a backup QB, and it's funny because
at the beginning of the offseason.
Yeah, he's getting more interest though than Jimmy Garoppolo, which is hilarious to me. People are more interested.
A hell of a lot cheaper.
Exactly, and you know what you're going to get. Jaylen Warren has also jumped up to the number 2 running back spot behind Najee Harris, but again, still don't care. If anything happened to Najee Harris, then
I was going to say congratulations to Jaylen Warren for outplaying the other tomato cans that are playing behind Najee Harris. Good for you.
Right? Yeah.
There's none of that matters.
What's the running back equivalent of a jugs machine? Because that's basically what they need there in Pittsburgh.
I think it's one of those, like, it's the guy like in training camp that has the big rubber thing that they swing at them as they like run through the car wash. I think it's that.
Yeah,
it's a strength and conditioning coach holding the big rubber thing and whacking at them. I think that's what it is.
And then we found out that, as we've seen through the preseason, Deontay Johnson, George Pickens out wide, and then Chase Claypool moves into the slot whenever they move 3 wide receiver sets. And basically, I do believe if Pickett plays, or once Pickett becomes the starting quarterback, everybody that hangs out in the middle of the field is getting a boost.
including
Any
Pat
player-
Freiermuth. So
Any
anybody,
player that
Pat
plays in the middle of
Freiermuth,
the field.
everybody.
So,
Okay.
yep. He's not as much of a throughout the preseason. He has not been much of a boundaries passer compared to just trying to get the ball out quick, easy, middle of the field.
No, we talked about it during the Steelers show. I told you the one I was most concerned about was Chase Claypool. It's a pretty commonly held belief. I'm not by myself on that. And if you're telling me that's the case, then if Claypool's going to be running deep down the field, depends what he's going to be
To
doing.
open up the intermediate middle, boom, easy. Freiermuth and Deontay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Seattle. Geno Smith appears to lead the QB1 job. Again, we talked about that. Kenneth Walker not expected to be ready for week 1.
You did it.
But again, I think he was being overvalued to begin with. Penny is back.
For now.
Yay. Right?
Didn't he get COVID?
Yes.
He won't play.
Yeah,
this week.
okay. But he's going to play. Okay.
But again, names to know. DJ Dallas will have a role-ish on the team. And then Travis Homer is going to be effectively, when Penny isn't there, he's the backup third down running back. So there you go. Nothing for San Francisco, Tampa, or Tennessee. Clean on those teams. I like it. And then Washington, Logan Thomas activated from the PUP, running through drills. So good for him. We had hope that he would be able to come back, but
Means nothing.
it looked like
but,
he was
good
going
for
to
him.
not play. But again, he's back. Good for him.
Yeah.
Still not something you're interested in, but just
No.
worth
No,
noting.
but it's a
that he's
nice
probably
success
gonna be
story for
starter,
him,
yeah.
especially. And they could definitely use another big body pass catcher over the middle. So,
I mean, and Neil, this is the time. If you want to talk about Brian Robinson, you're welcome to.
well, I was just going to bring it up. It wasn't on the sheet, so I figured I'd just bring it up. I don't really want to talk about Brian Robinson a lot, but I will just say we mentioned it in the Commanders show. Still feels weird to me. We mentioned it in the Washington football team show that that we don't have any issue with Antonio Gibson, but the football team sure seems to, and they don't know what they don't seem to know what they're going to do with him. Like they
starting kick returner Antonio Gibson.
yeah.
Mhm.
They got him running kicks. They got him running with the
I don't believe
threes.
anything Ron Rivera says.
No, and that's
So-
a smart instinct. Don't believe anything Ron Rivera says. But the one thing that does seem to be reasonably consistent is that they do seem to like Brian Robinson quite a bit. They're giving him a lot of run in the preseason, and not in like garbage time like you would be expecting for somebody who's a rookie and just trying to get their legs under him in the NFL. No, he's been starting games, and they've been treating him like he matters. So I'm getting a little concerned for Gibson to the point that it's like, I kind of don't want any of this anymore. I almost get into the point where Robinson's still inexpensive enough that Robinson is starting to become the one that I gravitate to. And I want to just leave Gibson alone. I understand that you don't like Brian Robinson, Steve, for legitimate reasons. I understand this. My point is the Commanders seem to feel differently. And that's my one counter punch is like they seem to think that he can go out there and run it between the tackles. It's not super sexy, and it's not. I'd almost rather J.D. McKissick. That's the one thing you and I do agree on, where it's like J.D. McKissick is being undervalued a little bit.
He's actually been hurt and not really playing a whole lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know what he's going like if his beginning of the season's in question or not. I'm not really positive about that because I don't remember the exact injury or anything like that. But
never
honestly,
been a picture of health, so it doesn't really matter.
Yes,
he's got a groin injury.
Let McKissick go on IR or something. Give Gibson the passing down role. Split some of the running game, and then boom, Gibson owners are happy.
This is what we've talked about before. So right now, Brian Robinson's going in the 12th round. If you want to take a dart throw, whatever, you go right ahead. The only person on this roster that can handle both rushing the football and receiving the football is Antonio Gibson. He's the only one that has effectively done both. J.D. McKissick can technically run the ball,
but he's really a
just
pass
not
catcher,
great.
as we know.
He's a pass
catcher.
Brian Robinson
we know what he does.
Can technically catch the football, but that's not what they're going to use him for, and that's not what he's good at. He's going to come in to be the bowling ball, and he's going to run it between the 20s, and he's going to run it at the goal line, specifically at the goal line. But the red zone back is going to be J.D. McKissick / Antonio Gibson, and Gibson's going to be able to effectively work the number 2 job, I guess, if you want to say it's that. Like, if you want to call Brian Robinson the starter on first and second down and J.D. McKissic the starter on third down, I wouldn't argue with it at all. But they're going to use Antonio Gibson as a punt and kick returner, and he's going to fill in both the 1 and 2 down role and the third down role and be used in the red
until
zone.
he fumbles, and then Ron Rivera benches him for the rest of the day.
Yes.
And that's the issue.
Yeah.
For the relative price tag for Antonio Gibson, there's like 5 red flags in that. What I don't disagree with you what you just said per se, but there's like 5 red flags in it that make me not want to roster
Antonio Gibson of all of them has the highest upside and the most value, but at this point I've got him projected to finish about where he's being drafted. They're just paying too much for him.
There's no meat on that bone. Yeah.
But
whereas again, like I talked about before, Brian Robinson, your best case scenario is he falls in the end zone 10 times and pays off.
I understand. Like I know I get the math. I'm just saying that's the one that's inexpensive enough that it can't really snake bite you. So
maybe those kick returns are just to give him more touches so that he can go into the end zone eventually.
Practice
or something.
not fumbling.
Yeah. Get him the ball more. Just have him be on special teams for that.
Oh, God.
Well, again, we'll see.
Are you Ron Rivera's personal assistant?
Because right now I've got it as Antonio Gibson projected as my running back 21 and J.D. McKissic as running back 28. Just because that's such a large role pass catching the football. And if now they're going to split that role or McKissic is hurt and isn't going to have as much playing time, then sure, Antonio Gibson at his current value is going to return your investment, but just your investment. Not much more than that, just what you're investing. That's your best case scenario. And we don't know that for a certain right now.
Nope.
So, yeah, I'm good letting it be someone else's headache. I'm fine missing on Antonio Gibson this season.
Frankly, what are you excited about as it relates to this? Terry McLaurin?
I mean, I wouldn't even say I'm excited.
I'm not even super excited about it. I'm fine with it.
Like if Terry McLaurin was my second or third wide receiver, I'd be good with it.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
But if he's my wide receiver 1, I did something wrong.
Probably. Yeah. Unless it depends on what your running backs are, I guess. But
well, that's what I'm saying. I did something wrong. If I drafted so many running backs that my first wide receiver off the board is Terry McLaurin, I feel like I screwed up somewhere. He's going in mid to late 4th round. Right?
Yeah, that sounds about right from what I've been saying.
So if I've got 3 running backs or if I've got 2 running backs and a tight end because I went full crazy, then yeah, I did something wrong. But there you go. That's it. We did it again. Went through all 32 teams. Well, at least the ones that something's changed, So there you go. Again, patreon.com/importantnonsense. Hop in, join the Discord, ask us your questions, especially live in the drafts this weekend. Hit up the guys, ask them what you should be targeting. We'll help you out. We got no problem with it. What else? Shop.importantnonsense.com. Drape yourself in Jack's mustache, of course, as always. And then, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We appreciate it. Closing thoughts, gentlemen?
Speaking of the merch shop, we sold a hoodie. Thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who wants to drape that. And that wasn't even Jack. Take that, Jack.
We got new Canadian patrons and then immediately sold a Jack mug. I don't think it's a coincidence.
No, probably not. I don't really have too much in the way of closing thoughts beyond shamelessly plugging our own merch store.
There you
go. Other than to say good luck to everybody as we approach draft weekend. Hopefully these videos were of some assistance. If you've made it all the way to this far, I would have to imagine you're getting something out of it, or you would have turned us off long ago. Or you're Jack's parents, and to Jack's parents, I say thank you for your constant support, and we couldn't do it without you.
And for providing the world with a good mustache.
Top tier mustache.
Yeah.
1 of 1.
Otherwise, no. Nothing else.
No? All right. We will be back in a week and a half on the 7th, the night before the NFL kickoff. And until then, keep up the nonsense.